Hey everyone, Ben here. In this episode of the Stellar Work podcast, I'm joined by Andrei Savine, a transformation leader with more than 20 years of hands-on experience driving major change at global companies like AWS, Decathlon, and Airbus. Andrei has spent his career making transformations work, designing operating models, leading complex programs, and ensuring real results. After seeing the same challenges derail countless of initiatives, he's now building CapabiliSense, an AI platform that analyzes your organization's documents to give you a clear, evidence-based picture of your readiness for change. Today, we dive into how AI can enhance management, why intelligent use of documentation is a game changer, and why creating and leveraging the right data is crucial for faster, better decision-making. Andrei also shares how CapabiliSense is helping leaders cut through the data mess, bringing all the relevant information together so you can make better decisions faster and with your company's unique context in mind. Let's get started. Hello, Andrei. Welcome to the Stellar Work podcast.
Hi, Benjamin. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I'm reworking all the content that we're having, the new design on the episode. So if you're listening to this, you will see a new design on each episode, but also on the podcast. And we're reworking the complete website. So apart from a lack of sleep, I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I went for a run this morning, so I'm full of energy. Yeah, so.
Perfect. All right, as everybody knows, we're starting with a quick introduction. So for everybody who does not know you yet, who is Andrei Savine?
So I'm Andrei Savine. I'm a founder of CapabiliSense. And for around maybe more than 2 decades, I participated in major business and technology transformations. Places like AWS, and within AWS, I helped customers like Airbus, AstraZeneca, Electricité de France, and many 100 customers, and also Gameloft and Decathlon especially. So I've seen many those transformations from inside out. I've seen the ambition, complexity, the tons of money spent, wasted, and too often frustrating results where nothing works.
When you say transformations, I mean, in the context of AWS, those are mainly cloud transformations. Are we going to talk about the cloud transformations, or are there any transformations?
Cloud transformations are just part of transformations. Cloud is basically a platform or a tool, but it involves much deeper transformation, much wider and more important. It's not just cloud transformation, it's how you actually change your organization, your ways of working, how do you change your mindset, and how do you change your culture as well. So it's not just cloud, it's you can call digital AI transformations if you want, business function transformation as well. So general transformation, everything that involves moving from A to B, and how to do it, in the least painful way.
What made you go into transformations? How did that happen? Because in most of the time, it looks like a big dumpster fire and everyone's trying to avoid it. But obviously, like you and I, we just jumped right into it.
Well, the thing is, nobody asked me to go and start, driving those transformations. I think it was back in 2016 where I started to talk to AWS, and then I realized that all my knowledge that I accumulated and gathered from before, it was becoming obsolete. It's basically I had to, when I joined AWS, I had to do like a Benjamin Button. I had to forget everything that I knew, and I had to start, from scratch. I had a huge imposter syndrome above my head, and I kind of jumped into it, and I loved it, and I still love it. And when I see those numbers, how transformations fail, it still, hurts me because I've participated in both failures and wins. So yeah.
I saw a post of yours where you claimed, I think it was on Medium, I'm not sure, where you claim that like 95% of large-scale digital transformations fail. Why? Why is that?
Well, first you need to define the failure. What does it mean fail? It can fail deliver promised value. It can fail to fit into the budget. It can fail to fit into the timeline, and it can basically fail everything. So I've seen all symptoms of failures, and why? The main blocker is a massive disconnect between the shiny strategy and operational reality of the company. So that's a reason number one. And there are probably tens of different reasons, but if I would need to pick one, this would be this reason. Massive disconnect between.
How does that disconnect happen? Like, it's probably not in a way that the leadership totally lost sight on what happens on the shop floor. It must be somewhere in between. Like, is it the hierarchy that has gone too big? Is it the bureaucracy that has built up that gap between the top and bottom layer?
Well, it's both. And it's actually everything that you mentioned. First of all, there is lack of clarity what the organization can actually do, or what's in the trenches, what's on the bottom floor. Then there is lack of clarity on how do we actually achieve that shiny goal. And I've seen many examples. Yeah, cloud is going to be cheaper, it's going to be faster, it's going to be agile, it's going to be GDPR compliant and everything. And when companies spend millions in moving to a cloud provider, then they realize, oh my God, it's actually worse than it was before, because it's a new technology. Nobody knows how to do it. But it's not just new technology. It's everything that has to change. Everything in terms of how do you approach your budget? How do you approach your team structure? How do you approach your operating model? How do you approach tasks? How do you approach the ingesting of business needs, and how do you transform them, translate them into technical requirements? Everything is different. So it's not just, we have this idea of going to new market, becoming more agile and so on. It's more, how do we actually do that, and explaining on every level, ensuring that every level understands it and contributes accordingly to this goal. Yeah.
So, Andrei, how do we actually do it?
What's the right way to do it? I mean, there are a couple of approaches, and when I'll give you a story. When I joined AWS, I saw hundreds, if not thousands, of silver bullet solutions. I saw the slide that shows there is like S curve, and then there is a stall point on that curve where organization moves to the cloud and then it hits a wall. And I've seen literally more than 10 different solutions saying, oh, you hit that wall, you need to use this. Oh, you need to use like CCOE, Cloud Center of Excellence. Oh, you need to use governance as a code, or you need to use this and that and that. It was very, very confusing. So what happened then, I took those solutions, hundreds, if not thousands of solutions, and I put them into IT transformation playbook. And depending on the customer size, depending on customer maturity, depending on the on their journey where they are in the cloud, depending on their specific blockers, I would propose, or the playbook would propose specific solutions to those specific problems, because there is no one size fits all. There is always custom, dedicated solution for specific customer. There is no question. There is no answer to this question. How do we do it? I know that what we should avoid, but
it's tempting to ask.
Yeah,
it's tempting to ask. Like, you want to hear, like, okay, give me the 5 bullet points, 3 case studies where you did the same thing, and then we'll just execute.
It is very tempting. I can give you another anecdote. I was in the virtual room, during COVID with around 80 angry managers, project managers, middle management. They were, I will not name the company, but they were literally angry with me when I was trying to explain them what the good looks like, what the future I was trying to explain what the good looks like and what they would be doing. I saw in their eyes and their comments that this is BS, this is bullshit. How are we going to do all this on top of what we're doing right now? And I told them, look, you're asking question number 7. There are 6 questions that needs to be answered before. First, question number 6 would be, am I fit for this role? Do I have enough skills? Question number 5 would be, what skills are required for this role? And question number 4 would be, what's the definition of those, of this role? And question number 3 would be, what role needs to be strategically put in place? Question number 2 would be, where in organization it should be put in place. And question number 1, what job needs to be done? So you see, before answering question number 7, you should have answers to 6 questions before. And those 6 questions actually define the operating model, the target operating model, what job is being done, where in organization is being done, and by which role. So that's part of target operating model. And then there is people part, like how do you select and find people and make them apt and able to execute that role. And then, only then, you can ask questions like, what is going to be for me? And if organization generally fails to even ask those 6 questions beforehand, you will have a failure in transformation. You will contribute to 95% of failure.
Let's roll this a little bit back. You've been working with those transformations for the time you were at AWS. And then a couple of years ago, you left AWS. You went to Decathlon. You told a little bit about that. But then you founded a company, the Savin Corp.
The Savin Corp company was founded quite before that. It was
Sorry, I see it now. My bad.
It was a company that I used to provide my personal advisory services, and I was also inviting my colleagues into, into the PMOs or into different type of roles that I wouldn't be able to fulfill myself. So that company I was running, I would say continuously to provide my own services. But after Decathlon, I moved to something more specific. I moved to CapabiliSense. In the first year, I would say this was just an idea because I didn't have any technology solutions. How would I be able to, to build that platform? I was almost like, George Lucas, where when he built when he built his episodes 4, 5, 6 of Star Wars, because episodes 1, 2, 3 were too complex to be shot or to be realized with the current technology. So I had to wait for a year before the AI hype actually became something tangible and usable for for my idea.
So what made you drop out and like move full throttle on the CapabiliSense, which is part of the Savin Corp, right? It's a brand, really?
Yeah. It's a brand. Okay. CapabiliSense is a brand. It's a name of the platform. There was no aha moment. There was no aha moment. Oh, I need to do that. It was rather a very logical outcome or very logical solution, which was gathered drop after drop after drop of all those frustrations that I've seen, not just at Decathlon, but also at AWS. AWS is famous for, or notorious, if you want, for customer obsession and leadership principles. And I respect that. This is a part of culture. But that culture sometimes works in a way that you can't. That culture works in a way that you have a solution, but your solution can be lost in thousands of different solutions. For me, it was those experiences were necessary in order to start thinking about my platform. I've seen manual assessments being done everywhere. I've seen assessments results not being consolidated. I've seen workshop results not being communicated. There was something missing, like a huge platform or just a platform that would connect those results and would, do some interesting statistics or AI-driven analysis, which was not available at that time. So long story short, there was no one, aha moment. I just felt I need to do something myself. I've been there. I've seen those failures. I need to do something. And I did. So I'm still doing. Sorry.
So what does the platform do?
So the platform, you can consider it, or you can look at it as AI transformation or AI powered transformation assistant, a cockpit, a platform that can help customers like enterprises, and more importantly, it can help transformation partners. I call them partners because just a way I call them, but in fact it's transformation consulting companies, boutiques, advisory, or digital services or IT services companies that are in the trenches of transformation, that are actually executing or building different digital cloud capabilities or organizational capabilities as well. So the CapabiliSense, in a sense, is an assistant in the transformation journey. Today we are building MVP, and this MVP is focused on assessment part. I lived through hundreds of hours of assessments. It's a painful and non-efficient experience. I'm gonna ask you, Benjamin, so how's your security? Is it good? How do you consider yourself? Do you have this and this? You're gonna say, yeah, I do. I'm gonna ask you, can you show it to me? You're gonna tell me, of course not, it's confidential. Okay, do you have this and this database? Oh yeah, we do. How's it managed? Confidential, right? And then I'm going to get your opinion. If I'm going to ask somebody else in your team or someone who reports to you, he's going to give me another picture. If I'm going to talk to your internal peer or customer, he's going to give me another opinion. It's a very subjective exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Human interviews are very subjective. And even without specifically wanting to look better, we still are trying to look better than reality is. And that, multiplied by hundreds and thousands data points, can absolutely skew the operational reality picture that is seen by the senior leadership. So they will see the bright picture that is reported through those interviews. In reality, it's something different. So CapabiliSense, in a way, it strips out this subjective part because it takes customer own documents. It analyzes them through AI against a transformation framework that is built for a couple of years already, that I've built myself with my colleagues at AWS. I took it to the field at the Decathlon and other customers, and I've done it, I've grown it, and I made it more adapted to AI, to digital, and so on and so on. I evolved it, and now I'm using it on the CapabiliSense platform to see what is the real maturity level of organizational and technical capabilities that your company has.
So there are a couple of assessments out there that would point to a very similar direction. Like I'm no CapabiliSense expert here, you are. But it sounds to me like I could walk into like a CMMI assessment, or I could just run a type form on the whole organization, send like 3,000 links out into the enterprise. What is making CapabiliSense different?
I keep monitoring and looking for similar solutions. I'm yet to find one solution that actually analyzes documents, analyzes the documented reality of a company as a baseline for assessments. I've seen assessment on Microsoft. I've seen assessment on European Union, whatever. Oh, you want to test yourself about your AI readiness? Answer those questions. Okay. I will answer those questions. Somebody else will answer those questions. He will give a different point of view. If you feed into CapabiliSense, anonymized documents, it will take the reality. It will analyze different documents, and if in one document it's going to say, yeah, we have a roadmap for our cloud platform, business unit. Of course we have it. Of course. But if you're going to take another document from the internal customer of this platform, they're going to say that this backlog or this roadmap is not fueled by their needs. It's done, in silo. And CapabiliSense can detect that. It can detect conflicting information. It can also detect missing information. What is missing?
But only documented.
Of course, if you have information in your organization that is not documented, I have very bad news for you.
But I mean, like, aren't many organizations really bad at like documenting and updating those documents and keeping track all of that? Isn't that a big issue?
It is a big issue. And the CapabiliSense can look not only documents. In future, it will look into Slack, into Microsoft Exchange, into Jira dashboards, or whatever project management suite you're using. It can look at all those information, data points, and it can tell you, okay, you have a conflict, or you're pouring money and resources into something that you shouldn't be doing. Instead, you should be, making other capabilities more mature. Or you're going to fix that security breach because you have somehow a risk of a new, vulnerability. What is a blast radius? What is the real impact? How, what is the risk score of this vulnerability? Does it really need to have hundreds of engineers patching those, AMI, Amazon, machine images, manually? Or can you spend 30 days on building automated patching capability and then just, patch it automatically in one shot? What is, that you will, with CapabiliSense, you'll be able to evaluate the feasibility of your program or your project, and that will give you red flags if you, if you're doing something wrong.
If we forget, if we ignore for just a second that Peter Thiel is a complete madman, this very much sounds like the business internal Palantir approach, where you bring all the data from the different sources, from chats, from knowledge bases, from databases, from maybe you have Confluence or Google Docs or PDFs in some shared systems. It brings that all together and helps me as a leader make better decisions or check feasibility on my management interventions. Have I got it right?
What we are aiming to build for enterprises is not another Palantir. We are aiming to build a trust engine. Trust engine is going to be permanently looking at different data points, and it's going to give an unopinionated, apolitical view. What really is happening? Our teams are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Palantir costs a fortune to implement.
I wasn't comparing those two. I was just thinking of the approach of bringing different data from different sources together in order to make better decisions. At least that's what I got from it.
Yeah, you're correct. If something is not documented, it must be documented somewhere, somehow. And if it's not official document, it can be discussion, it can be minutes of the meetings, it can be a recording of some discussion or brainstorming, and so on and so on. It must be documented. Because if you don't have if you only have rumors in the corridors and couloirs around the coffee, I have a really bad news for your organization if that is running your company culture. So yeah.
So actually, like when you're a leader in an organization and you may want to make it fit for future, so to say, you want to have like all the tools that would document what happens in meetings, that summarizes all that AI functionality that is already there, in order to generate as much data as you can for your internal operations, in order to feed that into an AI to manage your company better. Like you would have to design processes, collaboration and tools in a way that you crank out data for tools like CapabiliSense or any other tool. I'm sure they will emerge, that I'm 100% sure of.
Benjamin, I think you hit really the sweet spot here. Leaders want to take data-driven decisions, meaning there has to be data, and that data must be organized. That data must be clean and healthy. If it's not, I have a bad news for you, but I have bad news for, almost every enterprise out there. And the sooner you start thinking about it, the sooner you start implementing, your data capabilities, the better. I've been actively participating at AWS Cloud Adoption Framework shaping. And my main pain point and problem with whatever went out of the, new version brainstorming, that there was no data perspective. How can you, there is business, operation, governance, people, platform security, but there was no data. And that's why in my framework, there is not just, technical, but there is also data perspective and, strategy perspective that defines, the leitmotif for the whole transformation. Data is like a blood that's running through the body of whatever organization, and it's absolutely crucial to have it healthy, ready, at the right time, at the right place. And CapabiliSense is going to use some of it in order to give your instant assessment snapshot where you are today. In future, it's going to help you to define the feasibility depending on your goal and your project scope. It can be migration, it can be AI proof of concept, which is also a transformational project. And depending on that scope and resources and data readiness and organizational readiness and process readiness and so on, you're going to get a feasibility score. And the action plan that CapabiliSense will propose is going to help you to get that score closer to 100 instead of 20%. So you have an action plan, you have a roadmap, and then it's going to give you a possibility to monitor and govern the execution with data points instantly available. The CapabiliSense will be able to show red flags if something goes wrong, and you will be able to adjust your plan. It's not going to adjust the plan by itself. It's going to give you or me, a human, a possibility to act on it.
Let's maybe dive into the future of organizations a little bit better. We covered that there has to be data. It's like blood in a system. I totally agree with that. I'm just wondering how that cultural transformation could look like, because as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I see in organization, if you turn on the record button, if you have an AI listening in the background and taking meeting notes, people tend to become hesitant in sharing informations or talking as freely, as openly as before, because they know they are being recorded and it's going to be stored somewhere, and then someone is going to look at it, even if it's a robot. How do you think we could overcome this in organizations?
First of all, if there is a culture of remote work, this is easy, because you do remote work, you already share information somewhere, you have meetings recorded and transcribed after the meetings, so it's already there.
I mean, if people let you record them, right?
You can make it mandatory if you want people to be able to work remotely. I mean, I don't want to sound really, strict here or, imposing rules, but somehow people are so eager to share their lack of knowledge through ChatGPT, and somehow they would be hesitant to discuss important topics, if it's analyzed afterwards by, internal tuned AI, there has to be obviously a change management, and there have to be change agents in the organization that will help everyone understand that AI is not there to be watching them like a big brother. AI is there is to detect what's missing or what's contradicting, and where is the truth. If it's something that, or is it true, or is it wishful thinking what you're saying? I don't see the problem with AI being able to analyze what's being done. It's it's a question of change management. How do you install it in the culture? How do you introduce it, and how do you showcase the small wins?
What do you think in terms of timeline? How long will it take in order to, let's say, for the majority of companies to really adopt to the capabilities of, let's say, an AI analyzing processes and people storing and generating like the organic data?
I think it's not a question of when the organizations will be ready. I think it's a question of where the tools will be available to do this type of work seamlessly and in a transparent way. Because if you have a tool that, or like CapabiliSense, that is ready and it can basically analyze the documents, it doesn't have to listen to your current conversations, it can only analyze your documents, or chat in Slack, where you have developers discussing different features. It's gonna cut through the noise. It's gonna like ignore all information that is not relevant. It will only take relevant pieces of information, like, do we have a risk in delivering that feature, or do we have enough people? Do we have enough budget? Other requirements are clear, or is it just big black box saying, oh, we need this, but how, and what are the consequences of having implementing this feature? If it's not thought through, then you'll have resistance all the way. I think organizations are tired of failures of different transformations as much as they're tired of assessments. So I think it's more question of tools rather than when organizations will be ready. Because as soon as it's ready, everybody will start using it.
We're slowly approaching the end of the episode, but I really want to hear a short story of you where you like sort of piloted CapabiliSense and what you stumbled across, what you learned. If you could share one of those stories with us.
Yeah. I will share the story of tuning CapabiliSense. We're aiming to have 80-90% of correctly detected capabilities, but I'm very, if it's not 99, I feel very, very bad. So I've been tuning the AI model that we're using. Here is advertisement, Google Gemini, which is so far, it's probably the best model that we tried and used. And I'm using Gemini Pro, and it's so powerful. I'm using the script, the prompt, I'm generating, and then I apply it in the CapabiliSense code, and the results are bad. I am like, what the hell? I spent 2 weeks trying to fine tune. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. The more I analyze and run tests, it's the worse it becomes. I'm like, something is like fundamentally wrong. And then I realize that for the sake of speed, I configured CapabiliSense to use a Flash model instead of Pro. And Flash is fast. It's really fast. It's not as smart. So when as soon as I changed it, okay, the speed of analysis dropped 7 times, and I had to wait for 10 minutes, for a couple of documents to be analyzed. But then I saw the results that I expected, and I was like, boom, okay, now I know if I'm tuning the model with a Pro, a Gemini Pro model, I have to use Gemini Pro model because, it just makes sense. And then there was a question of how do I make those requests in a parallel way so the customer doesn't have to wait for 10 minutes for the documents being analyzed. So yeah, now we're down 3 to 4 minutes, which is okay. So yeah, that was a really like, oh my God, that was so stupid. I didn't check. I literally lost 2 weeks trying to fine tune it.
I'm wondering because there are so many LLMs out there, and they're competing and they're getting updates and becoming even more performant. How much work do you anticipate it to be like if Claude, for example, if Sonnet something is going to be way better than Google Gemini, how much work is it to adapt to that new AI on CapabiliSense?
It's basically a matter of setting up an API key and changing the model in the config, changing the model name in the config. That's it.
Does
1 minute? 1 minute.
1 minute. Okay. And there's have you tried that between different models?
Of course.
And do you see a difference in the amount of fine tuning that you would put in depending on the different model?
The CapabiliSense is built in a way I don't have to fine tune it for a specific model, but I have to fine tune the prompt because it's not just feeding the document. There is a chunking, there is extraction, there is detection of the date of the document, because that's very, very important, because without the date, it's like, oh yeah, the date. Without the date, the information in the document is basically wishful thinking, but the model understands that, oh, it's done already. Oh, you're saying value proposition. Oh, it's done. No, it's not done. We have a 3 years project to implement or to execute in order to this value proposition to become actual reality. So the CapabiliSense is built in a way I don't have to fine tune it for each model. I can easily exchange or interchange between different models. Results are different. OpenAI is very wordy. Gemini Pro is very smart and reasonable. Gemini Flash is very fast, maybe furious. I wouldn't check with Quant. I don't want to do that. We tried with Mistral. We tried with Claude and all those models. So far, we stick to Gemini. Gemini is so far the best ratio of money and quality. Just to give an example, for a couple of fine tuning, for 2 weeks I've been fine tuning. I could easily burn 100 euros just on those tests. If it would be Claude, I would be burning more. It's also a question of how do you approach it, in a frugal way, in a lean way, or just have an open bar and just go and do it. I don't have an open bar here. No.
And is the platform that you're creating, is that addressed for consultants that bring it onto the company, or is it like for a leadership team to have sort of a dashboard or go-to AI in order to have a sparrings partner on their decisions, on their actions that they're taking?
first iteration of an idea of CapabiliSense was customer-facing, enterprise-facing, senior leadership or transformation leadership. But then almost every transformation out there is executed by a consulting company, by IT service company. So I didn't want to become their, competitor. I wanted to build something that they would be using and that would help them to avoid the pitfalls and problems that we all, have seen that I've been talking about. So we decided to shift the focus to partners, to, IT services and, consulting companies. And by the way, companies like Capgemini, Accenture, Ernst & Young, they have their own tools, but they have their own proprietary tools and platforms, and they're not going to give it to the market. What we're building here is something that they are not going to give to the market, but we are going to give it to the market. We're going to, help the rest of transformation consultancies go and, do something better in terms of analysis, assessments, planning, monitoring, governance, and so on.
Sounds freaking awesome. So if there are transformation consultants out there who want to try it out, who listen to the episode and think that could help them, that could make their life easier. For me, I'm used to running interviews back to back for like 2 weeks straight on site at the client, those are like 60-hour work weeks. It's just insane, right? And I try to experiment with type forms, but in order to really get the documented processes, you also have to read a bunch of Confluence articles. Best case, worst case, you have to dig through their SharePoint and request access for each file individually.
I've been there.
If there are transformations consultants out there who want to try this, where do people find you? What is the best way to reach out?
Well, the best way is to connect to me through LinkedIn, and we can start discussing, how we can help. At this moment, we are in the process of working with a few selected partners that we approach them as a design partners, basically to build a platform for their taste, for their specific needs, by keeping the ownership of the platform. So we're building it for them, building capabilities that they, would be able to build by themselves, but it would take too much time, or, the internal projects tend to go very, very slow or very demanding, and basically you are using your internal engineers to build something for your internal people instead of building it for your customers as a billable work. So we are looking for design partners, but selected design partners that are willing to shape the future of CapabiliSense, willing to try and to give a honest, feedback. Also, help us to understand how much it actually would cost. Because right now we have different ideas, but whenever I present it to any investor or anyone, say, "Oh no, this is too much. Oh no, this is peanuts." And the more you hear from different people, and it's like, okay, how much I'm gonna charge it? 100K or 1K or maybe 100 euros? I don't know. So yeah, we're looking for design partners that are interested in helping and shape this solution and help us to define the future of CapabiliSense.
Right. So if you're one of those, drop down into the show notes and I'll provide all the links and all the contacts to Andrei. Thank you so much for doing this episode with me. And yeah, see you very, very soon.
Thank you, Benjamin, and talk to you soon. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Stellar Work Podcast. If you enjoyed our conversation, be sure to check out our other episodes for more insights and inspirational stories from leaders across the world of work. Don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, or even YouTube if you're into that. And for updates, behind the scenes, content and more, check out our social media channels or just reach out via email on info@stellarwork.com. If you found this episode valuable, please recommend the podcast to a friend or colleague who might enjoy it too. Your support means the world to me and helps the show grow. And one last thing, we love co-creating our guest list with you. Yes, you listening out there. If you have someone in mind who'd make a great guest, or if you'd like to pitch yourself, head over to our guest forum in the show notes and let us know. We can't wait hearing your suggestions. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.